China, Japan, Korea, and the oil sellers. Every single day, your government has to go borrow money to cover our soldiers in Afghanistan and Iraq, our cost here at home, and tax cuts to special interest groups and multimillionaires. Guess who loans us the money? In order. China, Japan, Korea, and the oil sellers. Now do you understand why we don't enforce the trade laws anymore? When's the last time you got tough on your banker? And I know it's 4:30, but let's just suppose the banks are still open when this is over, and you drive down to the bank, walk in the bank president's office, and slap the living daylights out of the bank president. Do you think you get a loan tomorrow morning? I mean, we're laughing, but it's serious. It is unconscionable that people in my family's income group, and I love saying this because my family was the poorest family group in the White House in the 20th century. We had the lowest net worth of any family in the 20th century. And we were a little poorer when we left than when we got there. But as soon as I made money, they couldn't do enough for me. They kept throwing tax cuts at me instead of letting me support our soldiers in the field in Afghanistan and Iraq. And it has nearly bankrupted this country. It is wrong. If you want to get back to financial responsibility, you vote for Hillary for president, and she'll give you whatever course you get back to. Second thing we've got to do is to generate more jobs. Hillary wants to repeal a lot of the special interest tax breaks, like the one that we give for people who move jobs overseas. Like the subsidies we give the drug companies instead of bargaining for lower prices for the senior Medicare drug benefit. Like all these no-bid contracts to Halliburton and others, which you pay a fortune for and are a constant embarrassment to the American government. Like the subsidies to the nuclear industry and the oil companies and their record profits. Put it into a strategic energy fund and invest in energy independence for America so we stop spending $300 billion a year sending it overseas to buy foreign oil countries. You want to bring manufacturing jobs back to America? Go for energy independence through clean, efficient energy, homegrown energy, solar, wind, power, geothermal. Burn solid waste, close all the dumps in America, generate electricity with it. We can do all this. Find an answer to clean coal technology so we can use our coal, and China and India and all these other countries that are going to burn coal will be able to burn it cleanly so we don't burn the planet up for our kids and grandkids. Make an affordable car that will get 100 miles to the gallon, and don't you think we can do it? Let me just tell you, this is just one example of what would be funded under Hillary's energy plan. There are about a dozen of your fellow Americans right now today driving cars that get 100 miles a gallon. That's because they run an electric battery to 55 miles an hour. They run all day long without being recharged. And then if you get over 55 miles an hour, it switches over to fuel. Once you do that, you're at 100 miles a gallon. Then you can say to all these people that sell us all this oil, we don't care if you charge $100 a barrel. By all means, charge $200 a barrel. We keeping our money at home for our families and our jobs and our future. You have that. Now, here's why you need a president to do that. Because we cannot now produce enough of these batteries that power these cars to get the price down. That's what you need federal research for. Every electrical product, once you can produce it in large volume, drops in price. You know that from your own experience, don't you? Flat screen televisions, iPhones. Look how much cheaper than they were when they first came out. So, under her plan, she would take a lot of this special interest money and spend it on you. Use it to level the playing field and invest in the future and get the jobs of the future back in America. Look, if the United States can beat the world to the moon, we can surely beat the world to a car battery. I believe we can do it. The second thing we've got to do, if you want to get a hold of this economy, the third thing, after getting back to the balanced budgets and investing in tomorrow's jobs, we have got to do something about health care. Now, most of you experience the health care crisis as exploding premiums, right? Twice as expensive as it was when I left office. But raise your hand if you know somebody that doesn't have health insurance. Look at this. Look around here. Look around here. Now, This is the central policy difference between Hillary and her opponent. Here's the thing I want you to understand. There's not another wealthy country on the face of the earth where this question would get that response. There is not another wealthy country on the face of the earth where this question would be asked. Every other country has succeeded in providing affordable health care to all its people. Every other one. And what you've got to understand is, those of you who have health care that you can't afford are in the same boat as those of you who don't have health care. The failure to cover everybody with uniform rules is why the cost is going through the roof. And I'll just give you two examples that every one of you will be able to identify with. If you have health insurance and you write a check for your premium, think about these two things. Number one, every time you write a check for health care, you are contributing to $50 billion the insurance companies spend every year trying to figure out how not to give you health care. Go figure. And you know that, right? Oh, I'm sorry, you've got a pre-existing health condition. Or your spouse does, or your kid does. Or, well, yes, you've got health insurance, but it doesn't cover what you need. I'll bet you there's 100 people in this firehouse that that's happened to. Yeah. Isn't that right? Yeah. All right, now, so we got to fix that. That's $50 billion of wasted money. Now, here's a second example. This should make you madder. 30 cents of every one of your hard-earned dollars you spend on health care, 30 cents goes to paperwork. Paperwork. Nobody could run any program with 30% administrative costs. We'd have to bring half our soldiers home to pay the paperwork bill if the Pentagon had 30% paperwork overhead. It's unbelievable. Now why? Because there are hundreds of different companies writing thousands of different policies with a zillion different coverages and different size insurance pools. And it creates an administrative nightmare.